But happy Saturday. Y'all know the vibes. It's our TGF Book Club. We are covering the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And let me tell you what, this been hitting something good. It's like, them holiday meals that you ain't had in a minute, and then the first plate that you be getting, you're like, damn, can we get another? That's literally how I felt reading this book, bro, because I'm a big John C. Maxwell um like mentee. I've been learning from this man for so long. And he honestly has helped me grow so much as a person. So the fact I've never read this book before blows my mind. But a lot of the stuff that he talked about really is in tune with where we're at as an organization, where I know a lot of people are at within their own individual lives, and the goals and the aspirations to hit new levels, and honestly make some breakthroughs before 2025 as we enter the new year. So that being said, last week we started and covered the introduction, chapters 1, 2, and 3. This week we are talking about chapter 4, which was the law of navigation, and then chapter 5, which was the law of addition, and then chapter 6, which is the law of solid ground. Oh gosh, let's talk about it, family. Okay, so I'm gonna pass this thing on to whoever wants to grab the floor. You know what? Just because we always start with some ladies, I'm gonna have a gent go first. And honestly, just because I know me and my guy been running a 90-day challenge together. On top of it, he's been reading and listening to the audio pretty consistently. Sam, bro, if you could do us the honor, bro, and open this thing up, we'd appreciate it, big dog. You got the floor.
Appreciate you. Happy November. We're already here. Like, stop playing. Let me bring up my notes real quick, yo. But
As y'all can
yeah,
tell, I'm already thinking about Thanksgiving.
irrefutable laws, right? Man, I've just been tied in. I've listened to it over and over again, and so I might be a little construed in the chapters because it is a little hard to trying to differentiate like when you just listen to it all together. So I'm going to try and break it up as the chapters go. But I know the one thing I kept replaying over and over and over again, the law of navigation. For chapter 4, it's a the the example he gave, as a long-winded one was, it was they were going to meet the South Pole, right? They were trying to make an expedition to go meet the South Pole, and the leader of the group, did everything he could. He pre-routed the destination. He like supplied their things and did everything he could, for a successful journey. So as a leader, he took the safety of his people first. But as it said, like he, compromised. He let some he added another person, and then 5 days into the journey, like their pack dogs died. All their animals they had that they were traveling with, they had to put them down. So rather than thinking about people first, he was thinking of his destination. And as a leader, your vision is what your group will follow. So he was looking so heavy at the destination and was so dead set on it that it ended up being, the detriment to his whole crew. As it's stated that this whole crew died, and the only reason we have record of is because the last couple hours of their life they were writing it down. And so it just goes to show you that, just because you're in the leader position, it might not be that you are the best person for that specific task. The law of navigation. The leader of that group may have had the best influence. He may have been the most strongest out of them all. Hands down. You see this person, you're gonna want to follow them, but doesn't mean that he had the best navigation skills. So if he would have best delegated that to someone that probably knew the area, knew the weather, had made the trip before, the outcome could have been a very, very different outcome. Because it also, man, I'm sorry to read it for reading it because did we talk in this chapter? Was it about Harriet Tubman? Or I've just read too far because I don't want to get too far because I just was just
They
reading
didn't touch
it.
on, I don't believe they touched on Harriet Tubman on chapter 4.
Okay, yeah.
You
Because
know,
so then I listened too far then. So I'll say that for the next weeks. Um, But the law of addition is really just in every single aspect. Like, are you giving or taking value? Like I heard something today, like the takers do not realize that they are taking, that they go into conversation and they demand so much energy from you and they don't even realize it. So as servant leaders, as we are trying to be, we are willingly giving. And so to just be mindful of the of what you're giving and what you're receiving, because you know it, I mean, these are 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. If you act and practice all of these, which is very hard, and it says everyone's rarely ever doing it, all of them at the same time. Uh, that I mean, these are non-negotiables. If you act in these ways and you practice, what it is that they're telling you. Let me bring up my notes. I've just been kind of going off the rim. My bad. But I had a but yeah, that's
That's
really
good for off the dome, bro.
yeah. I was just and I did have to go back and listen to the Law of the Process, because god dang, chapter 3 was such a fire chapter.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
um as far as that, I will actually, I don't know, let me give it up. I'm sorry, I'm having a little no moment. Um, but if anybody else is ready, I could definitely add on to what I'm saying after that, if anyone wants to take it. But if not, I got it. Uh,
Something I literally just read. I knew that I would experience genuine opposition to my leadership for the first time. There were rough waters ahead, and if I, as the leader, didn't navigate us well, I could sink the ship.
Exactly.
mm, yeah, and because it says, managers managers can keep the direction. Once the ship is sailed, a manager or a boss can keep that direction. They can keep that maintaining, but it takes true leadership to change the direction of the sail. So like that, the example that it brought out was with that South Pole, that South Pole journey. You know, he acted as a great manager, as a great boss. He had his destination, and he did everything to get to that. But if he acted as his true leadership role and saw, the people that he was with, the safety for them, rather than, his personal goal, you know, he would have been able to see that, he's putting his people in danger. Just because, he's able to get them there doesn't mean that he's able to get them safely. So, you know, let me see what we got here. So yeah, just the essential. Um, so basically saying, just plan ahead. Anticipate the possible, outcomes and obstacles that you're gonna face, and to take away from that, as a leader, you got to combine, the realism, the realistic outcomes, and your goal. You don't want to bring down any people, so you got to have that optimism and that positive, outcome. But you also got to find the balance. And if the leader would have been able to communicate that their vision, you know, to just well, I totally lost my train of thought there.
You good, bro?
Let me see. But yeah, another law of addition. That's really what resonated with me this week. Just, also like hearing like Facebook reels about it. Like everything's aligning with this book and this what the teachings, because literally like that give and take was really big, because we act every day. I went to a coffee shop with Marcus this week, and just seeing him just give in to everybody around him in person, like as just like a hello or ask how you doing. Like you just pour into people. And as someone that just personally went up there and just like made it, just ordered a coffee and didn't add anything to the conversation, not realizing that, like, hey, I'm taking away from that person And Mark is just so, with practice, of course, gives to that person, and made it. It's just those little things. It's literally just a few words, but the intention and the practice is just it's huge, and it makes a huge impact. Like I think Marcus said, what you said. Don't let the the size of the problem significate the size of the impact.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Don't let the
what was
size
that?
of your assignment
Right.
dictate the significance of your impact.
Truly, yeah. And that's like all those are just like ringing in my ears because it's truly like, you know, how do I want to say it? Like really energy is transferred. We don't make energy, it's transferred. So we're either giving it or receiving it. And then the energy that we give to the universe, to the people around us, I mean, truly, you know, it will change your life. Like it's completely different. And so let me tie into the to chapter 6 here because I know I've heard it. So this is what we have. Ah man, I don't. Let's see. I don't remember. I really don't remember the example he gave in chapter 6. So I think that's all that I remember. I need to be more focused on the specific chapters. It's really better reading the book. So highly, it's got to be a recommendation to read the book because audio is nice, but it's hard to break it down, compartmentalize it. So, but I believe that is all I had, y'all. Let me see if who is ready to popcorn. Who is ready? Cam, are you reading it? Are you in there? I see Imani still moving around.
Oh
So
yeah,
good.
I'm in here right now. I literally just finished chapter 4 because I wanted to do a deep dive on here so that I could have some key notes to talk about. And boy, this okay. So, couple of things that I wanted to point out that I love. Page 36, if you actually have the physical copy, one of the ending paragraphs says, it's basically talking about how they were like still 150 miles from base camp. Like he wrote his last words saying that we shall die like gentlemen. I think this will show that the spirit of pluck and power to endure has not passed out of our race. Long story short, he had courage but not leadership. The truth is that nearly anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. That's the true law of navigation. And another thing that I liked was that before leaders take their people on a journey, they go through a process in order to give the trip the best chance of being a success. And what's really interesting about those two things that I've noticed for like, I'm a person that likes to analyze. And from the leadership that we've gotten over the past couple months, what's really interesting is I've vividly seen how our leaders will do the work themselves first and then explain why to do it, how to do it, and send us on the best possible path. And it's really interesting because it's like, I'll say it this way. For the first time in 10 plus years, I have leadership that's not steering me the wrong way. So shout out y'all. Um, Another thing, if you fail to learn from your mistakes, you're going to fail again and again. That is why effective navigators start with their experience that they have, but they don't end there. I thought that was a pretty interesting bar there. Um, and then it was going through some of the things that effective navigators do. And one of them is they get ideas from members of their leadership team. That's another thing that I noticed that these guys do. So, um, last thing I'm gonna speak on because I could do a deep dive is the navigation strategy. the navigation strategy. He developed a strategy on, if you have the physical copy, it's on page 40, and it's literally lays out. So it's literally plan ahead. The P is predetermine a course of action. The L is lay out your goals. A is
Oh, sorry. I just totally forgot about that. Sorry, I didn't know I was unmuted.
yeah, yeah, bro. I read this. I'm like, dog. So this makes sense why my leader, like, it makes sense why I haven't been an effective leader. Okay, let me do this now. So lay out your goals, adjust your priorities, notify key personnel, allow time for acceptance, head into action, expect problems, and always point to the success, and then daily review your plan. It's literally, if you take the beginning letter of each of those, it literally says plan ahead. So I thought that was fire, and like something that I have not been doing myself. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna implement that now. But yeah, shout out this book. Shout out this book. It looks like Imani is still doing some work. Um, I, I mean, it's like us. Do we want to make this like? You said something about an intimate book club. Are we really just trying to like dive through these chapters real quick?
Well, yeah, bro. It's the book club.
I'm with it. Cause like I have the physical copy, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I want to read the rest of this like right now. And if y'all want to like stop me in the midst so we can talk about some things, can we do that?
Yeah, so yeah, go ahead. You have the floor.
Bet, bet. I appreciate it. Unless Imani wanted
I mean,
to.
Amani's gonna share too, bro, but it's up to you. You can touch on any big part from the other two chapters too.
Okay. Um, I tell you what, I'm gonna finish touching on chapter 4 because I literally just got the rest of this, and this was all like different things that I know that I can implement for not just my business, but for Chart Talk, but for like my job, everywhere. So he's talking about how he had to build a blueprint to build a multi-million-dollar church. And he he had to prep for a congregational meeting because he knew the biggest thing that would be the problem was the church finances. So the first thing he did was he directed the board to and a group of their key financial leaders to conduct a 20-year analysis of their growth and their financial patterns. The reason why they wanted to do that and what they did is they conducted it based off of the previous 10 years and the projected 10 years in the future. And based on that, they determined the requirements of how big their church was going to need to be. And then they formulated a 10-year budget that carefully explained how they would be handling the finance. I'm going to stop right there because they're thinking not a year ahead, not 3 years, not 5, not 10. They're thinking 20, like they're thinking 10 to 20 years ahead in time. And something that I notice with people when they get started in business is they think that in like the first year to 3 years, you're going to hit just insane amounts of profits and everything like that. I'm going to give some reality because I've witnessed this with my own parents. They did the exact same thing with Herbalife, and it did not go the way that they thought. And they were in that business for 5 years, and they thought at that 5 year mark that things would hit for them. And they were expecting for things to hit for them at that 5 year mark. not planning for what to do after 10 years, 20 years. They were only thinking about 5 years in the future. You got to be thinking way bigger, way sooner, and way further. So that's something that I've really been interested in, because it's like they're not just thinking a year to 5 years, they're thinking 10 years ahead. They're trying to think of the absolute longevity. So from that, he had them do a 20-page report that he planned on giving to the congregation. He pointed out like every barrier that might come out, and his game plan with that was to do everything he could to prevent those factors from hindering them. Then he notified the key leaders by figuring out who had the most influence, meeting with them individually, sometimes in small groups, and the one like he would cast the vision and then fielded the questions. I'm gonna pause right here and talk about when we first made the transition. That is exactly what Marcus and Mikhail did when we made the transition. Literally sat down their entire team of board members, had a conversation with like everybody that was part of squad, because it wasn't just like TGF wasn't just their thing, and literally mapped out where they were, where they wanted to go, and how they were going to do it over not just the next year. Yes, they have it fine-tuned for what they're going to do all the way down to the year, but how they did so is they were thinking 10 years in advance. I know this because I know Steele and Marcus. So it's just been it's really interesting reading this, and I'm like, bro, pause. Y'all been doing this the whole time? Y'all been doing this the whole time, bro? Quit playing with me. You don't know how long I've had this book and had it just sitting in like a corner of like all of my books, and didn't think to just, open.
Yeah.
Crazy. So shout out this book club again for getting me out of my comfort zone and reading instead of playing video games. So that being said, that's all I got. I cannot wait to dive more, because I was told that like when you own a book, you can take notes inside of your book and highlight specific things. I do the same thing with the Bible sometimes. I'm doing that with this book and a lot of my leadership books from now on. Boy, that was great. That was fire. That one chapter alone. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and popcorn you, Imani, whenever you're ready.
What's up, y'all? Happy Saturday. What's up? How y'all doing today? Good takes, good takes. We love a good take. Okay, so I'm gonna do it. Well, Pam, you said something earlier, and I forgot. Dang, I don't know. It was something, and it made so much sense. I was like, oh my God, yes, and then it's gone. But yeah, y'all going good taste today, fellas. Look at the guys going first. I love this energy today. I am a little busy. I'm like making some cash today, but okay. So let me just start. I'm going to start with chapter 6 because I actually liked the order backwards a little bit more, because I feel like they really lean into each other in that way more so. But he goes for chapter 4, which was navigation. Chapter 5, something process.
No, it's addition. It's law of addition.
Law of addition. And then sound ground. Stay grounded. Something like that.
All ground, yeah.
Okay. So he starts off chapter 6 talking about trust, and that he has seen leaders, he has seen plenty of leaders lose their trust or have their people lose their trust in them. And once that happens, he sees like the organization collapse. And that was, oh my God, that was so strong because like trust within, I mean, he even talks about government as well. I didn't make any notes, so this is all ad lib just to let y'all know. But um, he talks about notes. Nope, not, what the hell? He talks about government and how he said, what, 21% of the leader, leaders in government have lost the trust of the people. So true. I mean, when I think of government, I do not think of trust. I think of the complete opposite, distrust. They're dishonest. And I have no faith in the US government anymore. I mean, I studied anthropology, I studied communication, especially like um, international communication, which basically talks about um, communicating with people from another culture or language that you may not be able to actually talk to with words. You have to communicate some other way, and that the way that these people in all of these classes, it all talks about um, how people are so mistreated from other countries when they come to America. And it's just this whole thing. So my point in bringing that up is like the faith that we had in government years ago is gone. So that is a huge organization. I mean, it's literally our government, and most people don't even trust them. So how important it is to have a smaller group on a smaller scale that has the trust of everyone who is supposed to be following. It's a huge difference when your leader ensues trust rather than you like a person giving up on them because they are no longer trustworthy. That sucks. So I can't imagine having an organization and then things just like fall apart because, well, nobody trusts them anymore. So like, how does it get there? We saw how government got there. Just a lot of lying, a lot of stealing, a lot of shady ass business. And that's just how that went. So chapter five, um, chapter five. Oh shit, chapter five, addition. What was the addition about? Can somebody just real quick, just briefly, I just need a kickstart.
You either are adding or subtracting from people.
Bam, that's why I wanted to go backwards. Okay, so chapter freaking five. It is the most important thing to be thinking of others as a leader first. And I know that's not easy for everybody, which, funny enough, he actually talks about in chapter 4 when he's talking about navigating is not his best leadership skill, and that he has people. I'm going too far. I'm going too far ahead of myself. Okay. So chapter 5, when he's talking about leadership and how it is so much better when you are wanting to add value. He talks about Martin Luther King. He talks about Mother Teresa, Albert Einstein, and their whole thing was to make the world better. I mean, there's always these things as a hero complex, which is not always the best either because, the world is in balance whether we like it or not. There's going to be
My drink also. Coffee.
two sides of one coin.
Oh, sorry.
But you're good. Adding value to someone's life as your mission really changes. I think that ensues trust a lot, I mean, if a person doesn't feel like they're valued or their opinions or however where they're at is not necessarily good enough, when a leader is leading, it will be hard for somebody to continue on and trust that person. So I also see why he went that way too. It's really good. Anyways, so chapter 5 was it just was really powerful for me because I have always been in a leadership role, and it hasn't necessarily been the easiest since I've gotten into these groups. Um, and I've been, learning with you guys over the course of the past year or so. I have definitely learned a lot more leadership qualities than I had thought um, existed. And a huge one for me is actually having value in the people first before anything else. I mean, that is just, at the end of the day, it's so necessary in order to actually provide services. So like Cam, when you were talking about your parents and how they were only thinking about the 5-year plan, were like in those 5 years, were they thinking about, other people and how it affects them? Or were they trying to get the bag? Which I think most people set out like that. Like they set out and doing something that they really like because it feels good for them, not really realizing how impactful it could be. Because, a lot of people have doubt in themselves, first of all. So if you're starting a business and you're just doing it for you, and then you hop in and you quickly realize how fast it goes from being just about you to being about the collective. And I don't think everybody thinks like that when they're starting businesses, unfortunately. So people get lost. People get lost in their businesses, lost in translation, and it becomes this thing where you can lose trust, or people don't want to be a part of the group because, hey, this person doesn't even value me, doesn't even care about what I have got going on. And it may seem a little selfish on that side, but at the end of the day, this is why people are coming in. This is why people are joining to grow, to learn, to face themselves, face their fears, especially groups like this. It's always going to be that way. So adding value to people's lives is the number one thing that leaders should be thinking about when they are setting out to do groups like TGF, groups like Powerful Creative. I think it's really important. And, you guys do a really good job of that, leading selflessly. And I know you guys have your own agendas as well, but it doesn't stop the fact that y'all are for the people, which is really cool because I really feel that when I come into book club. I'm like, okay, this does give collective vibes. This gives senior leadership vibes, people who have been in the leadership role for a very long time. So I don't know how long y'all been in it, Marcus. But I can tell y'all, like, I know, because Marcus, you're the oldest, and I feel like most older children are the ones who are in charge of the family, as I am an oldest child. I'm in charge of my family. That's, it happens to the best of us. And because of that, I learned a lot of leadership skills earlier. And then as I grew up, I was a part of a lot of different things, which made me be the person that I am today. So I had to be selfless. I had to give more to other people. And that helps my leadership qualities when I am talking to other people. And without that aspect of wanting to serve people, the goal kind of falls short. So chapter 4, that one, damn, man, he did not think about others. Poor shit. He thought about his goal and his goal only, which I know he killed the dogs. I know he was trying to go up north first and then found out that he got beaten to the punch. Didn't know he got beaten to the punch in the South Pole. So it's just like, damn, dude, you're just doing all of this. And then he says, the author says that what did he do? He freaking, had them bring 30 pounds of geological samples back. Like, boy, if you don't put them damn rocks down, we do not have time for this. Arguably, the 30 pounds was an extra weight on your people, not on just for the sake of science. He didn't even make it. He died too. I was like, damn, dude, you're dead. Your people are dead. You don't have the rocks. I don't know who has the rocks. So what was the point of all of it? It's just like, you killed everybody, you killed yourself, you got all this stuff just to find out that I forgot, the Norwegian Swedish flag, something like that was already there. So I was just like, no, that sucks so bad. The dogs died, everybody died for the sake of a person just not calling it a quit. Like, it's okay. It's okay to, I get the goal, I get the whole wanting to be this person that has made all these accomplishments. But once you realize that it takes others to help you get to that goal, then I feel like at that point, a person will actually. Mm, Anyways, a person will actually serve the collective rather than themselves against all odds. I mean, I know it's not necessarily the easiest thing to admit when you want to do this goal that is super important to you. But at the end of the day, like, hey, those people could have survived. Some guy walked out in a blizzard, bro, and was like, all right, well, I'm going outside. All for your cause. He could have lived. He could have lived. But he was being definitely selfish in the name of science, which a lot of scientists are like that. But it doesn't excuse the fact that he was a leader and he was supposed to navigate. I do love that example that he gave during COVID. I didn't know this book was that like recent. It's really recent. He's talking about that when COVID happened, um, they
Well,
held off on.
the book was written, I believe, in the 90s, but
Okay,
they added things to it at the 10-year mark and at the 20.
okay.
So that's why there's some relevant information in
Oh, okay, got it.
so if you have the
Okay, yeah. So
25 year, you definitely have some information about the COVID vibes.
okay, got it. Okay, cool. So when he brought that up and he was saying that he could have kept everything going, everything was still on, but he's not the best navigator. He has somebody for that. He said have somebody a part of the team that can, which arguably makes him an even better leader. You feel me? If you can admit your weaknesses and pursue a team that can raise that weakness, like you may not be able to have it, but somebody else does. You admitting that is actually better for your team than just you trying and it not working out because you're not good at it. It's just like, okay, that's fine. So his navigator was the one, I guess they decided to hold off before they canceled because of COVID. And the next thing you know, Disney World canceled everything and they because they waited just to like make sure they didn't want to pay for these block of rooms, which if y'all ever have did a block of rooms, you block these rooms out, these rooms are yours. They are nobody else's. Like you have to pretty much take them because yeah, it was. Yeah, they basically passed it. That was in chapter 4. But basically you have these rooms and it's a block. So if somebody chooses to come to the conference, what they'll do is they'll pay for um they'll hold it off in the contract and then each person will come and pay for that room with a discount. So if nobody comes and pays for the room, you're fucked. You still have to pay for them because the hotel is not going to lose money on rooms that they could have potentially gotten. So they held off. It worked out. They renegotiated and they ended up having they had the biggest turnout that they ever had, having 6,000 new leaders come for training. And I was like, okay, that is a strong leader. When you can admit your fault, when you can admit that you're not good at something, and you put it into the hands of somebody you trust who you know is good at that, bam, magic is made. And now they do conferences and people who can't make it, they're on the Zoom call or they're on the Zoom. So I'm like, okay, love that energy, love that flow. And yeah, very important, all of these. So thank you for your time, people. I don't know if Amber is available, but
Hey guys, I'm sick, so I'm not gonna turn on my camera.
Oh, it's all good, girl. We hope you start to feel better. You drinking some tea?
Yeah, we're out here resting.
Let's go.
Um,
Saturday.
okay, let's freaking do this. I know I thought I missed book club. I had like set an alarm and then fell asleep. And I woke up and it was 11:30 and I was like, oh my gosh, but we're here.
Oh, you're good.
All right, so I just want to go over chapter 4. Did you go, Marcus, already?
I have not.
Okay, cool. I just want to go over chapter 4 because honestly, that's as far as I read. I'm gonna read the next 2 chapters today. One of the first points in chapter 4, law of navigation, talks about navigators keep their emotions from clouding their vision. I really like that point because it just like highlighted to me, like just going back to emotional intelligence and really just the practice of, you know, processing our emotions and not allowing them to cloud our vision, like literally. So like we have emotions, we have things that come up and that happen. But navigators keep their emotions from clouding their vision. So really just highlighting that like a quality of a leader is somebody who can really process their emotions and then allow them from not keeping the end in mind. And that is not always easy, especially when things get pretty tough. Point number two, navigators draw on past experiences. I really like this and talked about like failing forward is because sometimes there's only things like you only know things or really know them like from experience, you know, like for example, like leading Zoom calls. You can learn how to lead a Zoom call. Like someone who's led a Zoom call could tell you how to lead a Zoom call, but you're only going to really know all the qualities and like how to do it and all the things that come into it by like doing it, you know, like they're just like little things that happen that you only learn how to navigate through as it's happening because it happened, you know, or because like or like either you've like for example, sometimes I'll lead like honestly watching Marcus and Mikkel lead Zoom calls and like watch them like literally every day go through different situations and like remain calm has taught me a lot. Like whenever I lead my calls, because I've seen them like not emotionally react or like just stay really calm or stay really patient. So like when something happens in a call that I'm leading, I'm able to draw from those past experiences and be like, okay, Amber, like just stay calm, like don't forget, you know, just and I'm like able to like reflect back on other calls that I've been on from other leaders and like see how they've handled it and like drawn from those experiences to help me um lead like in that moment. So as a point, navigators draw on past experiences. It says reflective thinking gives you true perspective, gives emotional integrity to your thought life, increases your confidence in decision making, clarifies the big picture, gives a good experience and makes it takes a good experience and makes it a valuable experience. Each benefit gives a leader a great advantage when planning next steps for a team or organization. Point number 3, navigators examine the conditions before committing. I really, really like that point because a lot of times, like sometimes the idea of something is like easier than the actual, like the actual process of something. And I just feel like examine the conditions before committing. Like sometimes there's like good things that we could all do, but it's just not, how do I explain it? Like necessary for like our people at the time or even ourselves at the time, you know? Like examine the conditions before committing. I'm trying to think of an example that's reminding me of. Honestly, this is like a very simple example to me, but like I don't know, like one of the hold on. Let me take a moment. Okay, it says no good leader plans a course of action without paying close attention to the current conditions. So to me, this means like understanding, really like, communicating with your community, with the organization, understanding like really where everybody is at before committing to do something together. Like if you're leading a group of people and a lot of heavy things are going on, right? Like really examining that emotionally and seeing like what is really necessary for the organization as a whole versus like what you want to do, right? So for example, like if you are in a space where I don't know, you have a lot of high energy, you want to do something like, for example, I like to do like these challenges, 21-day challenges, and there's times where I'm really excited about doing them and I want to do all these things, like bam, 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 like, and we're all gonna do them for like 21 days together, and then just because I'm excited about doing them, sometimes I have to like really, examine the conditions and be like, okay, where's everybody at like in their lives as a collective? Like, is this something that all of us can really do together, like the benefit for every single one of us, and it takes time to really examine like all of that and seeing like, okay, is this something that is good for all of us together? Or is this something that I just want to do because I'm excited about it right now? So just taking time to think about that. Number 4, navigators listen to others. Says no matter how much you learn from the past, it will never tell you all you need to know for the present. This is really, really big. Listening to others is like something that you continuously do. I don't even know how like more explain that. No matter how good a leader you are, you will not see everything you need to. This one too, honestly, reminds me of like my experience from learning from Marcus and Mikkel and like other mentors that I had, and just like honestly observing them listening and like their willingness to continue to listen. And I feel like I notice that more and more sometimes whenever I get impatient, because you listen to people every single day, right? And it feels like you always do, and sometimes you can have those ego moments, right, where you just like get frustrated, or like you just feel like you've already heard this before, you've already heard this problem before, like but that doesn't matter because you could probably have, right? But again, like one of those things is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Just because you know that you can help that person in that situation because you probably have heard a similar story like that 100 times before, that doesn't matter because that person needs to know that you care about them in that moment, in that particular, in their story right then and there. And how you communicate that is the only thing that matters. So like listening to like slowing down and really listening to people where they're at and like allowing yourself to really help them feel seen and heard is really important as a leader. And it takes a lot of emotional intelligence. And like to me, what I've learned with that is like holding space for people like that. Like you have got to really, really super duper like take care of yourself and like really be selective of the conversations that you're gonna have. Like if you're gonna, continue be a leader and hold space for multiple people like that. Um, you got to be like, I want to say like strategic with it, but over time you got to really like observe, like, okay, like got to take care of your emotional well-being and be like emotionally intelligent. Ask yourself, like, I want to say ask yourself, but like to me, the conversation I've been having with myself with that is really like paying more attention to how I take care of like my own body and like the like you know it takes energy to listen and to do all of this stuff. And so like the conversation I've been having with myself is like, Amber, you got to take care of yourself more. You got to drink more water, get more sleep, like to be honest, like, and like just to keep it a buck, like not freaking smoke so much like in the mornings, or like have these bad habits, like these little bad habits, the details, like they're going to catch up to you. Like you're not going to have enough energy to really be present the way that you want to be if you're like cutting corners like this. And of course, like I have grace on myself, but the more that you grow as a leader, the more responsibility you have, the more responsibility that you have towards taking care of yourself, because it like shows up, like you don't get enough sleep the night before, and then you don't like take care of yourself and eat breakfast, and then you're trying to lead a call, meet all these people, and then everyone's like coming after you with questions, and you didn't take care of your foundation, like yourself, and you're getting frustrated because you're tired, like you got to take care of yourself, you know what I mean? You don't want to complain about the process. Anyways, that's just my tangent on that. Number 5, navigators balance both fact and faith. Being able to navigate for others requires a leader to possess a positive attitude. You got to have faith that you can take your people all the way. If you can't confidently make the trip in your mind, you're not going to be able to take it in real life. Navigators balance both fact and faith. Honestly, this really reminds me of a conversation I was having recently with somebody about like getting a job like in a very short period of time, and like in like the next like 3 weeks or so. And I was talking to them about it, and it was really this of like balancing, like keeping faith in the big picture, knowing that like yes, anything is possible, but understanding that, fact, like seed, time, and harvest. Our harvest take time, and just because like we're in a stressful situation in the moment, sometimes like in this faith journey, whenever we get times get hard, that's when we want to like start praying and start doing all the things to make something happen for us. And it's okay, like it's natural to go towards that during those times. So like when you're leading other people through that, it's like balancing that faith and fact. It's like yes, like let's go to God, let's have faith, like everything is possible, we are gonna be okay, everything is gonna be fine. But also balancing the fact that like this is the first time you've planted seeds for this desire, like all that it's going to pop up tomorrow is very, very low, but it's okay. But still, like being like, today is the day that matters. Like today, what you say today matters. Like, let's keep going. And so like really understanding that, yes, things take time, things take work. And the work isn't always easy, and it does take a lot of time, but it will always turn out good at the end. And that is my take on the law of navigation. It says leaders who navigate well do their homework for a current project or objective. They draw on past experiences, have intentional conversations with experts and team members to gather information, and examine current conditions to inform your navigational planning. Once you've taken these steps and formed a plan of action, you take action. One thing that this reminds me of too is like one thing I've learned about like marketing, like one conversation that we've been having is like really getting the perspective of your people and like where they're at. And that really takes you like slowing down and like seeing from other people's perspective and how to communicate to somebody from where they're at, like to make sure like it lands from where they're at. And that's not always the easiest thing to do, and so really like slowing down and like asking yourself like, okay, if I want to teach this lesson, how, if I was in that person's shoes, like what are the things I need to point out, like what are the things that I wouldn't know. And that takes intentional time and asking intentional questions. Like sometimes like when I'm talking about like praying or whatever, like praying to me is something, I've been doing it for a long time. Like a lot of habits are like unconscious, and I have to like slow down. I talk to other people about praying because I'm like, what are things that I'm over like stepping, and like sometimes I'll have intentional conversations with my sister and be like, hey, like let's break this down. Like I feel like, I'm missing something. And so we'll have those intentional conversations. She'll help me like break down a lesson that I'm teaching, because she'll tell me the things that like I may be missing, or some things that I probably thinking are like, I don't know, I want to say like common sense or a little bit obvious. And she's like, oh no, like that's not like that obvious, like that's important. I think that's important for you to say. And I'm like, okay, like I'll say that, like to me it's like, oh, like that's like implied. And she's like, no, like I didn't think about that. You know what I mean? So it's just like taking time to do that. I think it's also really, really important too, when you care about like really leading other people and making sure that, the lesson is like taught to them in a way that's really receivable towards them, and us not having the attitude of like, well, I said it, like, I don't know. Like, no, it's not okay. That is my take, guys. Marcus, you can go next.
Appreciate the value, y'all. Honestly, I feel like we all discussed chapter 4 a lot, so I'm not going to touch much on it. But I'm really going to touch on chapter 5 and 6, specifically chapter 5, because that one was my favorite of the readings. All of these are really important, but I just think a lot of what got talked about in chapter 5 is very relative to where if we don't follow this specific law, no real progress or impact can really be made. But first, chapter 4. The only thing that I want to touch on is what I didn't hear anybody say, even though we all read the chapter, obviously. But it's the fact that he says that the truth is that nearly anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. I think it was Kodak. It was like, let me drive the boat. Anybody can steer the ship, and it's so true. Like literally anybody can grab the wheel. But like to know where you're going, that takes an extreme amount of intention. I think what Cam touched on was what I was going to touch on in terms of the strategy that he gave towards the end of the chapter of plan ahead. It's so purposeful because I think it's wild. He said that the reason why the person that essentially who lacked in his not in abiding by the law of navigation caused death and hitting the goal but getting there late. He said Scott hadn't given enough attention. And I was like, bro, quit playing. Because I literally had I talked about it on our study set or not our study session, the value session for this past week on our team call. But people just don't pay enough attention to the details and the purposes of why you do certain things or what it is that you're doing. Everybody is very much surface level, over 95% of people. And the process of navigating, knowing where you're going, and then literally touching on everything that you guys hit on that he specifically talked about within that law requires thought. And most people just do not like to think. We like to have our brains turned off and be entertained or vibed out, you know? As leaders, if you want to be an effective leader, you've got to understand that that's your human tendency and you've got to like intentionally on purpose with the purpose, like do differently. And that's what I really was reminded of in the law of navigation. I think it's something that I've been blessed and grateful to have in my life. It was wild because this is the first time I've been reading this book. I've read a lot of John C. Maxwell's books, but I was learning a lot of what it is that he's pointing to through experience. So what I want y'all to know is that like y'all are in a great position, especially if you're like in your first 5 to 10 years, your first decade of like going after significant leadership, growth, accomplishments. All of it requires people. And you cannot take those people for granted. You can't use them at your own expense, even though you easily can. And you've got to understand the difference between influencing individuals and manipulating individuals. And I feel like if you stay intentional with your navigation, then you can lead people in the right way. And that's the most important part because even when things aren't going great, if you literally follow these out, predetermine a course of action. So think about what you're going to do and then lay out your goals, write it down. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, by 30 days from now, this is what we're going to do. Adjust your priorities. Understanding what your priorities are will help you literally focus on what you need to focus on first. Notify key personnel, having those specific and intentional conversations with those who are going to be directly or indirectly affected by your course of action. A lot of people forget that part. And then they get upset when somebody doesn't understand why they're going all in. Talking to myself. Because you gotta chop it up with people. Not only those that are in on the play with you, doing what you're doing, but also those that are in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like to be a good friend with somebody who isn't out of the business, who's not doing what you're doing. If you normally show up to birthday parties and for a season you have to lock in, you should probably tell your friend you're not going to the birthday party rather than just showing up or not showing up. And it's the lack of communication that literally keeps people in conflict. And that's what he really touched on in chapter 6. Okay, but anyways, allow time for acceptance. That could be a little bit of time or a lot of bit of time, but you need to allow people to accept that as well as yourself. Head into action expect problems and don't be surprised when things start getting hard. Like it was wild. Day 2 of my 90-day run, I was like, okay, I see it and we're good. I expected the issues or the problems to occur right away. It was crazy, bro. The amount of conversations I had from the hours of 10 a.m. till 1 p.m., literally putting out fires as a leader. I'm like, yo, this is crazy because I had a whole schedule planned today. And you just got to roll with the punches. You know what I'm saying? You can't act surprised when things don't go your way. I'll always point to the successes, what you focus on will grow, and then your plan, which I don't think people do enough. Keep it a buck, myself included. So, I mean, I do it unconsciously because I've been training myself for some time, but like just being more intentional about it. Earl Nightingale talks about reading your posted card every night and every morning before you wake up or before you get your day started and before you go back to bed. So just being intentional with that. Chapter 5, honestly, held the most amount of significance for me, because it gave me some reassurance that I understand what I'm supposed to be doing and I've been learning correctly. And I know where a lot of people falter and where I could have been a better leader to help people lead. So with that being said, leaders add value by serving others. Being valuable can only get you so far. In fact, you only become more valuable when you give more value to people. So everybody gets really caught up in understanding, all right, leadership is influence. And the way that you gain influence is you gain value. It's a very simple concept that we learn, especially through John C. Maxwell's teachings. But in terms of what that looks like, a lot of people get caught in the sauce of me. I need to be valuable. I need to be valuable. I need to go and get these skills. Yes, you need those skills so that you can show people, you can guide them. But you've also got to know that it's about the people. He talked about Costco's CEO and how he's been able to develop loyalty amongst his employees. Loyalty is so huge, y'all. It is literally, in my opinion, one of the most key things that I look for in other people. And I understand that because I myself am a loyal person. I'm loyal to my word, I'm loyal to my people, and I'm loyal to the vision and the consistent day-to-day sacrifice that needs to be made. Like loyalty is hard to come by. I think I posted something like it's so easy to see, yet it's rare to find. You can see when somebody's loyal. You can see when somebody is moving and grooving in that intentional in mind. He said that CEO was more focused on adding value to people by serving them than on serving himself or making himself richer. Later on, he writes, I believe the bottom line he says, I believe the bottom line in leadership isn't how far we advance ourselves, but how far we advance others. That is achieved by serving others and adding value to their lives. The interaction between every leader and follower is a relationship, and all relationships either add to or subtract from a person's life. I believe I'm like the hardest critic on myself sometimes. And I literally ask God to help me with that every day so that I can literally keep that with him. But leadership is not easy at all. And it's so difficult. And when I read what he described the bottom line to be, I'm grateful and I'm blessed that I've been able to be utilized so far to help a lot of people. And sometimes because I remain humble, I don't necessarily like to point at those facts. And I'm very realistic in what I see and what I see being done around me. So when I read those lines, I understand that I've done some good and I know I can do that on a consistent basis, but I know there's improvement that needs to be made. At the end of the day, my goal is just like everybody you come in contact with, they're either here for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And it is not your job to understand which one of those that they are. It's your job to recognize and accept and add value into their life while they're there. And I want to get emotional because I'm such a all-in type of person, and like I genuinely love my people. So I also see like where I could be better, because some people who have given me the permission to lead or have accepted me as a leader have lost their trust in my ability to do what I can do or my ability to be the person that I am. And sometimes that hurts a lot. But I understand that, hey, the goal in mind is to add value to their life while I can. And as long as I do that, then I'm doing the best of my ability, you know? So anyways, Albert Schwarzenegger, Schweitzer, excuse me. I thought it was Schwarzenegger. That's so funny. Albert Schweitzer said, seek always to do some good somewhere. Every man has to seek in his way to realize his true worth. You must give some time to your fellow man. For remember, you don't live in a world all your own. Your brothers are here too. I think, bro, it hurts my heart when I see like good people, genuine people who can be amazing leaders, like lose sight of that fact. It really does. It's because we live in a very wild society in today's world. But a lot of people think they got to do it on their own. And sometimes when I get tired of leadership, I just want to, like, bro, fuck all this. I'm going to go do my own shit. Excuse my language recording. But genuinely, like, it's real. We're human beings and we deal with all these things. So I say that as a reminder, like, don't forget, like, you literally are in a world with others. And the biggest thing that stood out to me was the fact that he really brought up what we're called to do. You know what I'm saying? It was funny while I was reading it, all I could think about was Jesus's words of while he was walking and leading his disciples on, I came here not to be served, but to serve and give my life up as a ransom for many. And John C. shares the same belief that I also believe, that God desires us not only to treat people with respect, but also to actively reach out to them and serve them. And not enough people do that at all. And I know there's like amazing people that want to hit amazing achievements and accomplishments. They're not going to do so by themselves. You can only go so far. So like you've got to be willing to serve people. And if you don't want to serve people, then leadership is not for you. Like it's required. You know what I'm saying? And I say that as a reminder because it don't matter how long you've been in it. Like it's literally a calling. Like you've got to serve, period, point blank. And sometimes you be looking and you're like, dude, why did I even spend that time or do that thing? But when you see it all in the collective, it's really because you were there for a reason and a purpose to help a specific person at that specific time. You know what I'm saying? There are people I haven't chopped it up with for over a year who helped really solidify what we have here in TGF. And during that time period, I didn't know how long they would be here. I just knew while they were there, let me just serve. Let me see what they want to go and accomplish. Let me see if I can provide an environment that will empower them, that will help them grow, collaborate, network, and actually build an understanding of what needs to be done, of the person that they need to become. Because it's all like entrepreneurship is a spiritual game. It's not physical. The physical stuff is a byproduct. I posted something. It's like I don't work for money at all. Like, screw that, bro. I work for relationships, for networks. I work for personal development, for growth, for fulfillment. I work for adding value to the marketplace and services and things that add good to those who utilize it. Like, my sense of passion, my sense of motive is different than the average person. And if that's the case, then you can't get frustrated as a leader. And I'm really talking because like leadership is frustrating. Like, you could hear in some of the examples in chapter 6 where John C was explaining where he had made some mistakes and how he was confused and how he moved impatiently, even though he didn't recognize that he moved impatiently. And he had to have communication and conversations with people. And I think this is solid ground. When things start to shake, if your foundation is made of rock, you won't go away. It's the glue that holds an organization together. Leaders cannot repeatedly break trust with people and continue to influence them. It just doesn't happen. His mistake was that, like I said, he was moving hastily, and he had to deal with the results of mistrust. And it's crazy because I can relate to him. He goes, for the first time in my career, my people were questioning me. Our relationship of trust was beginning to erode. As soon as he realized this and that he was in the wrong, the first thing he did, he goes, I publicly apologize. Just feel like a lot of people are prideful and they don't want to just acknowledge their wrongdoings. So the moment, like, we read this we read it in How to Win Friends and Influence People as well. Like, when you're wrong, apologize and do it soon. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing beneficial other than you feeding your pride and ego, and that is not beneficial if you're unwilling to put that aside and really just be in tune with somebody. So apologizing, but when it comes to leadership, you just can't take shortcuts, no matter how long you've been leading your people, no matter how long. So it doesn't matter if you're new to the game or you've been in it for decades. You literally have to show up and acknowledge when there's trust and when there isn't trust. And I feel like there's just some areas in my life where I need to be better at the part of really getting down to why there's a lack of trust and how to continuously build upon it. But he says to build trust, a leader must exhibit competence, connection, and character. Quit playing. Character is a lot. You got to be you and you got to be better. So if you want more trust, grow and be a better person. It's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes people try to lead a lot of people without working on themselves, or they get lost in the sauce of serving so much that they forget to actually work on themselves. And your character takes a beating, because as you're in the process of becoming, you've got to continuously have this reflection type of perspective, right? He said, you've got to be able to like look back and not just always charge forward. You've got to be able to have that reflective thinking so that you can grow in those values. No leader can break trust with his people and expect to keep influencing them. Trust is the foundation of leadership. Violate the law of solid ground and you diminish your influence as a leader, and you're probably going to, like as he showed with the sake of the administration in the Vietnam War, you'll lose the organization and things will crumble apart. And regardless of the fact, like, yes, there's always outside factors. You know what I'm saying? There are things that are outside of your control. There are situations and circumstances and conflict that will arise that you could not foresee coming, that are literally there. But that's why he tells you to expect those problems and not be surprised by them. And then on top of it, you just got to understand, like, just take extreme accountability with yourself, responsibility, and ownership of everything. Like, everybody wants the crown title of I'm the leader, I'm the guy, but you don't want to have ownership of all the great and all the bad. Like, everybody just wants the good. Everybody wants the mountaintop without the climb. Everyone wants the friendships and the influence without the time of talking, of building intentional relationships. I don't think people fully understand what that means either, but essentially, an intentional relationship is building a connection with somebody on purpose outside of just proximity. Like, yes, I know, like, we're all close to one another. We all live around the area. My guy's Cam's over there in Minnesota. But, like, we've been building intentional relationships for a purpose rather than just because we work together or we passed along or met each other. Me and Amber used to literally be in a company together. You know what I'm saying? So it's just different because it's about people, you know what I'm saying? And you can't get lost in the sauce. That's why I'm always telling people, I don't give a damn if I didn't know you yesterday. I did not know Mikhail 5 years ago, but that's my brother. We built trust. I understand that trust is not found. It is built, which means you've got to build it. That requires energy, work, and time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get so caught up that you forget you can't even grow what you want to grow if you're not building more intentional relationships with people who are not currently in your business or what you're doing. You can't influence more people if you don't build more trust with people, if you don't show exactly how you can serve and add value to their lives. You won't. So just be mindful of the fact that, like, trust is, in my opinion, trust is everything. Trust is absolutely everything. For me, I don't trust in human beings at all. I just know we're faulty human beings and we're going to mess up. We're going to disappoint one another. We're going to let each other down. We might even get angry with each other. But I really trust in God. And that trust has been able to literally just help me every single day in every possible way that I had no idea would actually have. The last thing a man can have is his word. Exactly. So if you just work on building your trust, and then learning to build trust with others, the only reason why I build trust with others, even though I don't trust in people, is because I trust in God. You know what I'm saying? I trust God that He's going to put good people around me, and then I can build trust with those individuals. You know what I'm saying? That we have a same actual focus and a mission at mind. And I'm grateful. I want to say thank y'all, you know what I'm saying, for the kind of things that you guys said in regards to, some of the leadership characteristics, and examples y'all gave, man. I appreciate y'all a lot. And high key, I don't know, I'm just grateful because, like, it's definitely in me. It's not on me. I've been diving for almost a decade now, though, Imani. I know you had asked that question, but working on myself, building my mindset, getting around better people, shredding and sacrificing things on my being, working on my weaknesses, diving in on my strengths. Like, a lot of it has came through just a desire to, like, want to provide better for my family and my community. And it's right in tune with everything that we've collectively done here, as, like, just the book club alone adds a lot of values to each of our lives. So I thank y'all, you know what I'm saying, for helping really provide that type of environment and this type of system that allows those who genuinely want to grow and develop a space to grow and develop, you know? So like, literally, flowers to y'all. I appreciate the love, and y'all have no idea that regardless of what you go through, whether you're in a storm, coming out of one, or about to go in one, just continuously don't lose sight of that vision of who you can become and, like, operate in that as today, because we be acting like we got tomorrow and it's not promised at all. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to drive to Dripping Springs for like bartending a wedding. And what's crazy is, you know what I'm saying? I expect to be home tonight, but you really don't know. You know what I'm saying? You have no idea. So every day y'all have breath in y'all's lungs, please, 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 for the sake of you, like just operate as that person and work on improving. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you find yourself in the tendencies of not wanting to build the trust because you're fearful, or not wanting to admit your wrongs because you're prideful, or not wanting to go and connect because you're egocentric, we're all human beings. We do it. You know what I'm saying? Just catch yourself, take a breath, and then literally change and operate as if, because we don't know. Have you ever lost trust in your leaders? Yes. I have. And I feel like I said, I also feel like people have lost trust in me as a leader as well over time. And I think it's part of the process. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, some leaders have definitely taken advantage of me in the past. Most leaders that I've lost trust in, they just continuously didn't match their words with their feet. So when I wanted to go and find that, I knew I had to operate as if, and then I would attract it. And as I started working on myself, I eventually met Mikhail. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, but I learned how to, like, even if you lose the trust, like I practice forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? Like I understand we're human beings, we're all gonna mess up. So even if, like, don't make the mistake of putting leaders or those that you look to or you learn to on a pedestal or like on a as an idol, because they're human beings. You know what I'm saying? They're faulty and they're gonna make mistakes too. You know, sometimes pride is gonna get in their way, or circumstances and situations are gonna make them extremely emotionally reactive rather than regulated. You know, like we're all emotional beings. I feel like I just lead with faith, forgiveness, and trust. I know that I'm given grace, even though I'm undeserving of it. I know that I'm faulty, and I'll continuously to make mistakes, but I know that I'm failing forward and I'm learning. And those that, like, genuine, authentic, real, effective leaders, like even if they've lost the trust, I do believe that they maintain it or they build it back with those that have let them. I've seen some people, I know, like there's been some leaders both me and Amber would talk to as mentors that I ain't talked to in literally 8 years or 5 years. And it's crazy because I lived with them. You know what I'm saying? I was building this vision with them. And now I don't even see them. Again, reason, season, lifetime. You never know. But in the midst of it, even though I lost trust in their ability to lead me, I still trusted them as people because they were good people. You know, so I definitely think you can lose trust in leaders. But I just learned, like, bro, ain't no everybody gets very loud when they're judging. You know what I'm saying? Everybody gets very loud when somebody's mistake gets highlighted or amplified. But we're quick to want the grace when it's our turn and we've made the mistake, right? So I don't know. It's just like do unto others as you want to be done unto you. And for me, that's how I operate in that. Even if like I've been taken advantage of, like there's some dudes that I thought I was gonna be learning from over the past year that definitely lost my trust. Um, and I had to learn to let go and just forgive the man and just keep it moving. So yeah, it'd be difficult, but I know you're gonna receive what you give out there. So I just try to like lead with that in mind so that when I do get taken advantage of or I do get mistreated or challenged, then whatever I respond with will be something that I get later on in the future because I'm like what you put out there returns to you tenfold. Sowing and reaping. But yeah, my bad, y'all. I went on a crazy tangent, but I love y'all and I appreciate y'all hella for literally moving and grooving and being intentional with y'all selves. Next week, I believe we're reading 3 chapters. Let me just double check. Let me just check. Boom. But yeah, all the book club events are updated. I just didn't check before I came in here. Okay, yeah. Chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I know it might seem like a lot. There's 4 chapters, but I think a couple of them are pretty short. And I was going off of the pages. Cam had sent me his table of contents. I've been reading on the phone just because I don't have the hard copy. But chapter 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let me see what those are real quick. All right, chapter 7 is the law of respect. Chapter 8 is the law of intuition. Ooh. Okay, chapter 9 is the law of magnetism. And then chapter 10 is the law of connection. Ooh. Oh, it's gonna be fire. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, sir. But all right, man. And ladies, I appreciate you guys. We'll touch base next week. Love y'all and have a good rest of y'all Saturday. See y'all at the top. Peace.
Great takes.
Amen.